In the prehistory of jazz, you have Lester Young and Coleman Hawkins representing two polar opposites in many ways, sound-wise, conceptually, even down the choice of notes, the way they put the notes together. And then in our time, and certainly my time in the 60s, you had Sonny Rollins and John Coltrane, almost in a certain way, continuing the slight differences between the left and the right wing of playing. I mean, you might not think that Train had a Lester Young influence, but there really is a Lester Young influence, not so much in his sound as much as his concept, especially in the early Train. So what you have is like somebody growing up in the 60s, for me, in the formative years, which is usually in your teenage years when you get your most info. I got these two guys, like, you know, head to tail, to listen to and see play. And the thing about Sonny was, he of course played all standards. And Train, of course, played his own music and had that great quartet with Elvin Jones and McCoy and Jimmy Garrison. And Sonny was a little bit more, had much more change in his sidemen. Every time you saw him, it could be a different guy, you know. There were some great combinations. There's a great record called The Bridge with Jim Hall, which is one of the great records. But they didn't make another, they just did one. You know. But the YouTube thing, this is where it really comes in great, that you can see the tapes of these guys playing, especially Sonny. There's quite a bit of Sonny in the 60s. These were all done for radio, TV in Europe. They were locked up for many years. You were not allowed to see them, or touch them, or breathe on them. But now they're slowly releasing these great tapes of everybody, you know. And it's great because you see the guys in their prime. In the 60s is, of course, when jazz was still a common language. It wasn't fragmented into fusion and world music, you know. Jazz was jazz. Blues, rhythm changes, standards, 4/4 time, maybe 3/4. Possibly something in 5, but very, pretty much, you say common vocabulary, like Beethoven, Mozart, and Brahms, common vocabulary, which got shook up by Schoenberg, and then jazz shook up by Miles when he did what we played last night, basically. Anyway, I want to just say something about last night. First of all, Pedro, I mean, you guys were there? I mean, you know, come on. Is that a saxophone or what? I had the same reaction to Pedro, and I've seen other guys play things like this. There's some great soprano guys in Europe that can do, I mean, I don't know what they're doing. And when I tell the story of my first time seeing Coltrane, you know, I tell the whole story, it's not important for now, but the main thing was that when I saw Coltrane, and it was Eric Dolphy there, because Eric Dolphy was with Coltrane for about a 6-9 month period in the early 60s. When I first saw Coltrane, I was 15 years old at Birdland, and I couldn't believe it was the same instrument I had home in Brooklyn. That's all I remember. How could that be, that instrument? I mean, it looks the same. It's called a tenor saxophone. And the way that guy had Eric Dolphy, but he's playing alto, but the Train, playing tenor. It was a soprano, I didn't even know what it was. But this tenor, how can you play like that? And kind of like what Pedro was doing last night. I don't know how you can do that. Because you look at it, you don't see nothing new, nothing happened. It's all inside. And I compliment him on his obvious hard work and putting together what he does on the horn. Last night was a really great night for a variety of things. First of all, the audience was tuned in completely. It's like they came in with a primer. Be like that. You know what? When you have an audience that's on the same page, you know, you definitely get the vibe. You know, I often get this question, well, what do you think when you play about performing and everything? You know, in a certain way, I really don't care what goes on out there. My job is to the musicians. You know, my first thing is to get them online and make them feel comfortable in order to get the show. That's my responsibility as a leader. On the other hand, so in a certain way, you're playing for each other. Sounds pretty selfish, but in a way it's true. Nobody, the epitome of that was with Miles when he turned his back on the audience, and it was considered rude, you know, like that. And like he said, drummer can't hear me if I'm playing out to you. That drummer has to hear me. Remember, they don't have monitor systems. You know, if you're pointing out here, the drummer's over here, he's going to have trouble hearing you. So there was you know, Miles would say, I ain't turning my back, I'm just playing for the drummer. So, but, obviously, when you have an audience that's on, you know, in tune with you, it makes it nice. So that was last night. Of course, the musicians, I had never played with these guys. I mean, I knew Victor from Reputation. Of course, Chest I knew from his record recordings. I didn't know this guy, plays great. And, of course, Jeff. And the young guitar player, he was really great. So I suspected, my wife asked me actually today in the morning, how did we come to this, to do this? Did I suggest it? Did you suggest it? Why did we say, why didn't I just do, you know, play There'll Never Be Another You? I mean, which I would normally do, play tunes. With him on acoustic piano, we would have played jazz.
I think it was at the Gen Conference a year ago when I saw you. We were just talking briefly.
You come up to me, yeah.
And I said, man, it'd be great to get you down to Nashville sometime. You said, oh, I've never been there. That'd be great. And then I remember you were talking about it being the 50th anniversary of Love Supreme this year.
Ah, yes.
Well, you know, and then you were saying, oh, this Miles thing, you know, we could do kind of a Miles Train thing. And then you're like, oh, you know, let's do some of this on the corner music. And you didn't have to twist my arm too hard. You know.
Well, this is music. I first did this in Paris, I think 3-4 years ago. There was a major Miles Davis exhibit. His whole life, I mean, incredible actually. It was things you never saw. I saw a video of me with Miles I never saw, you know, things like that. And during that period, Wallace Roney did in mid-60s, Jack DeJohnette did Jack Johnson. They took themes and they found guys to do the themes. And I volunteered or got volunteered to do, well, obviously because I was on the record, so I got chosen to do On the Corner. And that was the first time I did it with French guys, really great guys too. They played great. And since then I did it to Manhattan School of Music, and I might have done it in one other place in Europe. I don't remember. It was the first time I've done it here, you know, outside of Manhattan School of Music where I teach. And I've organized, you could see I had parts. I mean, I organized the music so much more than Miles organized the music. Let's put it that way. Because I was telling folks yesterday, you know, when you were with him, at least in that period, I mean, it seemed pretty chaotic. There was no rehearsal. He never said much. He would just get up and start playing that little you know. I mean, the one time I asked him what I should play, already I was 6-9 months into the gig. I said, I figured it's about time I should ask him what he wants me to do. He hasn't said a word to me. I don't know what I was playing. I was mimicking him. You know, you can see this on YouTube. They're all available. And one day I said to him, I said, what do you want me to play behind you? For the head, for the melodies. And the melodies are like, you know, two centimeters long. I mean, they're like, those melodies are not very developed melodies, which I heard last night. He said, play thirds. Play thirds. What does he mean by play thirds? He doesn't literally mean that I should play only thirds on him. I know he doesn't mean that. So I don't know what I did. I just kept doing what I was doing, and he never said a word. You know, one thing I learned from these guys, I mean, when I started out, you know, when I started playing with, my first mentor was Pete LaRocca. It was Chick Corea, Dave Holland, Jimmy Garrison, different bass players, different piano players. But Pete, who, you know, had played with Trey and Sonny, etc. And then I got with Elvin and Miles, you know the story. And one thing I had to realize, I mean, you know, I come from an environment where you're rewarded if you're a good boy. You dig? From mom and dad. You get a little gold star from your teacher. Like, remember 2nd grade? I don't know, they don't do this shit anymore because now they're carrying Uzis. But in those days, you know, you would, you get your 2nd grade teacher, you had a little book. If you did good on your assignment, you get a little star, right? Gold star. Okay. So in other words, meaning that, you know, you expect to be complimented when you're doing a good job as a kid. Like when I was in the hospital, if I was a good patient, I was in the hospital a lot as a kid. If I was a good patient, you know, there's, oh, he's such a brave young man, you know. Oh, shit, yeah. You know, you feel good. These guys, I don't know if they had an agreement or what, but they never said, you sound good. And the 3 guys I just named, Pete LaRocca, Elvin Jones, 2 drummers, Miles Davis. I mean, I know Elvin sometimes would yell something out that wasn't good. Play the theme! You know, he played a ballad, he didn't want to hear you fooling around. You know, he wanted to hear you play the melody. But you never heard from them that you were cool. And what I realized finally took me, like, I had to grow up here. You know, I wasn't 12 years old anymore. I had to grow up, and the point was, it was like, if they don't say nothing, and if they don't fire you, you must be cool. Yeah. And I remember in complete frustration with Pete LaRocca, it was Chick Corea, Steve Swallow. And we played tunes, you know, they were originals, but they were all standard, straight ahead kind of tunes. And the way these guys played time, I mean, I had to count every beat because I'm the only horn, so I had to come back in, we had to split 8s and 4s, you know, all the stuff you do, and you're the only horn, so you can't look at your man and go, see if I'm screwed up last night, I can look at him. Because he'll go like, let it be. You know, you get help when you got another horn player up there. If you're the only horn player in front of the band, you got this responsibility. So one night I was really, you know, pretty frustrated and thinking I don't know what I was doing. And I went to Pete LaRocca and I said, after the gig, he talked more than the other guys. He was kind of an intellectual actually, and I said, Pete, I am so at bay here. I feel like I'm out in the sea. I need am I cool? And he said to me, he said, if I don't say nothing, you're okay. He said, because I know the difference, don't you think? I said, you certainly do. He said, well, if you weren't cutting it, you wouldn't be here. So stop this bullshit and grow the fuck up. So thank you, Daddy. All right, we have about an hour and a half because I got to get to the airport, go back into the freezing snow shit. I can't believe I got to go back. This was such a reprieve to just not have. We'd be getting killed up there, killed. Anyway. There's 3 things I like to accomplish. I'm not going to hear you play. I'm not going to go through that. You all have the same problems. You all have the same challenges. I heard one guy play. He definitely needs what I'm going to talk about. All right. Although I must say, your first name, I'm sorry?
Henry.
I just told Henry, he walked in the cold. I said, get your horn, and he started playing. I don't know what he was playing. And then finally I said, play the blues. He said, blues, not really. And then I said, play a theme, tenor man, oh, now. So he played it, and then we played perfect. It was great. So we got a quick lesson in if you're going to play, and you're playing a tune, play the damn tune. Just hit the roots, and we started out with roots, and then finally, after a while, you get to 1, 3, 5, 7. I mean, it's not, you're learning. Also, just as a side thing, as I said to him, you should, as much as possible, play with a drummer, saxophone drums, and play. You can have fun and play free, no problem. Free time is great, but like, let's play "There'll Never Be Another You," or let's play "Ten of Madness," Billy's Bounce, whatever, and let's account for the form because there's no bass or piano or guitar to help you out. The only thing you got is his one. Now, I don't know if you were at the lecture yesterday, I was talking about rhythm and how, of course, mature jazz musicians kind of hide the one and make it much more subtle than like, here we come with the one, bang, We go a little slippery and so forth. But when you're playing with a drummer, you're just starting out, you say to the drummer, please give me every 8 bars, if it's a regular tune, or if it's a blues, give me every 12 bars, a clear downbeat on the beginning of the next chorus. So that I'm not, so I know where I am because I don't have the piano and the bass. Because when you have the bass, you have obviously the harmony to help you out. And it's a very good thing to work out with a drummer. I mean, if you can, once a week, 2, 3 hours. Come in knowing what you want to do. We're going to play fast tempos today. We're going to play the ballad, whatever. Maybe 1 or 2 tunes. Play, have a sand clock. Make sure you play at least 10 to 15 minutes. Do not give me 3 minutes. This is not what it's about. You got to get past the line of intensity, past boredom, into like, this is what I do. This is what we're doing. So you need 10, 15 minutes. I mean, train would take 45 minutes, an hour sometimes. But 10, 15 minutes. And then listen back. And listen back with the drummer. And if you have any doubts as to where the form was, were we at bar 8 there? Was it? Yeah, if the drummer says to you, I didn't hear the harmony. Because the drummer is going to hear harmony also. Then just go back and say, what were you playing that confused me? And go back and play it. Say, oh yeah, there's the one. So, if you treat this situation as a clinical situation, you get a lot out of it. Of course, you want to have fun at the end, just bang and go crazy. Obviously, have a good time. But that's an important thing to do. So 3 things I want to cover. First of all, I want to cover something that is usually not discussed in the detail I like to, and that's about the breathing situation. And then the second thing, depending on time, is very important, an exercise that we do with the mouthpiece alone, and then of course a little bit about the overtone stuff. Now let me preface this with the following. First of all, I have a DVD, I have a book, and I have, of course, this is from Jamie. This is like a good little short summary. You can put it in your pocket, so I don't do this, My teacher was Joe Allard, A-L-L-A-R-D, New York. He was a classical guy, studio guy, played in the NBC Symphony Orchestra. In those days, they had live music, and Arturo Toscanini was the conductor. I don't know if you know anything about that, but that was probably considered the greatest conductor in the history of classical music, Toscanini. And by the way, a sidebar, he conducted the New York Philharmonic, and when he wanted to retire and go back and, crush grapes in the village of Italy, go back to the country, and New York didn't want to lose him. So they said, we'll make you stay by giving you an orchestra to work with on TV. Now TV was new, this is the 50s, it was relatively new. Really, TV didn't start until the late 40s. So Toscanini took the job for a few years, and Joe was his first clarinet. So Joe was like a guy, but Joe played with Red Nichols, who was a vibraphone player. So he was kind of an early version of a crossover saxophonists who did both. And he accepted all students. He taught, he was a maniacal teacher, 60, 80 guys a week. He taught at Juilliard, Manhattan School of Music, New England Conservatory, in his home on the weekend, and when on like a Saturday, Sunday afternoons at Carnegie Hall Studios. So I said to my parents, after 2 years, 3 years of 16, I was getting a little more serious by then. I, saw train. I was getting into it. I wanted to learn something. In those days, there were no books, and there was nobody to talk to you about anything, let alone sound. So she said, well, look for a teacher. So I go in the yellow pages. You don't even remember what the yellow pages are, some of you. You went under professions, musical instruction, Manhattan. Manhattan book was like this. The Brooklyn book was like this. I mean, the Manhattan book was like a damn Bible. It was 500 pages and shit. Music instruction, I think maybe on the saxophone, I don't remember. Anyway, I'm like, and I called a couple guys. I talked to a guy named Joe Napoleon, who was a famous teacher. I talked to a guy who was on the Vanguard, live at the Village Vanguard with Coltrane playing bassoon, Garvin Bouchel. I talked to him. He's old. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anything, But I talked to this Joe Allard, and he seemed really cool. Money was, I don't know, $25 for 45 minutes, I don't know. And plus, he taught at Carnegie Hall Studios. So, of course, my parents were like, that's pretty high class. Carnegie Hall's like the top of it. That's the top of the shit. That's it. Nobody further than that in those days. So I went for lessons, started in. Okay, first of all, it was clarinet, because I thought I was going to go onto music school or something, and there was no saxophone major available. Very few in the whole United States, and one not in New York, at least that I knew of. So you had to play clarinet. I hated the clarinet. I just didn't like the clarinet, but I had to play clarinet. So there's a very famous book called The Rhodes Studies. I don't know if it's still a classic, but then it was considered, And I played and he said, okay, he was very nice, gentleman, gray beard, looked beautiful, hired suit, Carnegie Hall Studios, he waited outside, came in, really was beautiful, beautiful. He was gentle, he was soft-spoken. He had the reeds, he had the horn, the alto, he had the soprano, the flute, he had the reed stuff there in the corner. It was great. He had a cot to take a nap, as I learned. He would take naps in between, because he would work 12, 15 hours straight. He said, okay, play. I get to the first 4 bars. I didn't get past the first 4 bars for 6 months. And I went every week. I went from Brooklyn to Carnegie Hall Studios every Saturday. And with him, it was all about sound. He never said a word about, it was obvious I'm not going to be a classical musician, but I know jazz. We didn't talk like that then. We played saxophone. Whatever you played. I was playing club dates, I was playing weddings and stuff like that, and I was trying to play jazz with my friends, and it was very haphazard and so forth. He takes out Gray's Anatomy, which is the classic book on anatomy that doctors have been using for hundreds of years. I think it's from 1700s. And it is drawings. Now, of course, you don't need it anymore, you got pictures. You can do that technically. But it's drawings of the throat, the larynx, and the pharynx, and the esophagus, and the lungs, and the diaphragm muscle. It's like blinded by science. And he's like, see that? That's what's moving inside you. Oh, shit. It looks like a skeleton. Oh, man, that's what's happening. And here's how we're going to get to that. Okay. So the first 6 months, I'm going to a guy who's got a great reputation at Carnegie Hall Studios, and I think, is this what it's about? 4 bars of playing and looking at anatomy books and hearing stories about opera singers and guys talking and guys who taught him and stories like we've been doing stories. And I'm like going like, is this the one of the heaviest teachers in the world? What's going on here? Of course, some of you may identify with this, but when somebody's really deep and heavy, you don't know it then. You don't know. You may know reputation, but that's one thing. Oh, famous guy, great player. But you don't know until you get into the ring with somebody and you see what you feel and how that comes to you. And you're not going to do that in 2 minutes or 2 days or 1 year. So with Joe, what I'm about to talk about, is stuff that took me 10, 15 years to understand. To really get the significance of why he taught what he taught. He had one lesson that he taught, basically over and over again, the same lesson. And it was about how the saxophone is an extension of the vocal cords. And as you sing, talk is how you play. It has very little to do with this. Of course, this is the means by which we vibrate the material, obviously. It has less to do with this than, of course, we play a B or an A. It has to do with this. And this you use every day. The first sign of life If you've been around when your child is delivered, what's the first thing the doctor does? Grabs it by the legs, makes sure the brother is crying. Because if the brother ain't crying, or the sister is not crying, there's a problem. That's the sign of life. And guess what you're saying when you come out? Get me back in that nice little warm bath, brother. I don't know if I want to get out of here so fast. You know, now you ain't got no choice. By the time you pull out, you ain't going back in. So what he said is that the human voice, the way you use your voice in everyday interaction, let alone singing, let alone wind instrument, is an extension of what's natural to do. You don't even have to think about it. So Joe's main thing was correcting bad habits. Like, this is a bad habit. Why is that a bad thing? Because listen to my voice. Compare here to my voice. I'm putting pressure on here. So, you know, first thing you do is you don't play like this. You keep your head, call it head, neck, head-shoulder relationship. Straight ahead, like I'm talking to you. And then bring the horn to you. That's why the strap is there. That's why the strap is adjustable. If they didn't need adjustment, they would have made it one size and you could get it off your thumb. They made it adjustable for a reason. Because everybody has a different, you know, anatomy. So, we're not going to play like this. Or like this. Not David Sanborn notwithstanding. You understand what I'm saying? Now, you know, there are unorthodox ways, of course. But basically, bring the horn to you because otherwise you're putting pressure on the larynx and what's going on inside here, which we're going to describe in a moment, and that's unnecessary. So that's the first thing Joe would say. He said, you're leaning down too much. Well, I'm leaning down because it looks hip. I said, what? You know, because it's kind of like, you know, you see pictures of Dexter with the smoke and a cigarette in the hand. I don't think he's playing like that. You know. Now, not by the way, little sidebar, which there'll be many of. If you really want to darken your sound, you can do that, especially on the soprano. And I will sometimes do that on purpose because that will darken the shit because it's gonna clog it up a little, and that's a color you might want to use. But for the sake of, you know, naturalness, bring the horn to you. So Joe's whole thing was, don't do anything to harm, don't do anything to take away from what's a very natural thing, which is to sing, speak, blow. So that was his basic principle, and that's what he did time on. Okay, so let's trace the root of the sound, the path of the sounds. It's like going up the river. You have the source of energy, which is the airstream. You have it passing up from the container, which is the abdomen area. That's what's holding it in. Like a well, bringing up the water. The water in the bottom is what we're looking for. You got that. It comes up through the channel here. It's going into the neck area. We say throat. It's not really the throat. Technically, the throat is about 23 centimeters long. It's not the throat. We say the throat. We say the stomach. But the truth is abdominal, chest area, lungs, ribs, upper shoulder area. Abdominal, clavicles, and the word escapes me, middle, beginning of the T, forget it right now, not important. And these three are all coordinated into getting the air efficiently into this part where it gets regulated, just like I talk to you, I sing a note, and change the pitch. How am I doing that? Everybody sing a major scale. Put your hands on your Adam apple. Let's go up and down. Go up. And down. Okay. What's happening? What do you feel? You feel vibration. Up, down. The truth is, you don't know what it's doing. It's below the threshold of feeling. This is reacting to this. This is telling this through this, the nervous system, what to do with this. The last thing is the production of the sound. You already got the A here or the G or whatever we're singing. It's in here. It's contained in here, just like you just sang. And what you're feeling is vibration. Up, down, left, right, large. It basically contraction and elongation. And it is the vocal cords. I don't have my regular book here, but you can find it in there. The vocal cords are like cartilage, you know, mucousy type of material. It's like a string, and it vibrates. And of course it goes or this way or this way. And it does all four movements in different proportion depending on what you're doing. If I sing, there's a difference. Not just a breath, there's a difference. And if I sing, There's a definite difference in something here. Not important for us, but now you can find it on the computer and you can see the films of it. They got it all now. There's an amazing video I just got from the doctors in Germany. I mean, they got every instrument. You see it, the shape, and watch the thing go. It's unbelievable. There's a lot of stuff going on here. Now, to get a little philosophical for a moment before we go further, that is that the difference between the human species and the animal kingdom, there's many differences, obviously, but the one I'm going to pinpoint for this discussion is the use of the voice to express emotion. Now, when an animal, I don't care, tiger, lion, dog, cat, blah, 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 they got their little set of shit. That is food, defense, offense, and procreation. I mean, they're not sitting there thinking about happy or sad or, you know, mad or, you know, you could tell, but that's offensive defense. Think about it, you know, and that's all in the bark. Or like the dog looking at you a certain way. You get a vibe, and okay, cool. But then here comes a human being who, if I had a curtain in front of me, or I call you up on the phone, I'm not there, you don't even see my physical movement, but you hear me, and I say hello. How many people in the world do you know who it is right away, as soon as they say hello? Probably somewhere between 5 and 10 people. Your mother, your brother, your father, your best friend, your teacher, your girlfriend, your mistress, whatever. You dig? And not only do you know who it is, that it's Joe or John or Jerry, but you know what they're thinking. So if I call you up, and I'm your father, or I'm your mother, because of course it's even more out, you know, because they're tied into the vibe, you know. So like, there you go. Hello? What do you think she's thinking? What's your name?
Gabriel.
Hello, Gabriel.
Where you at? What are you doing?
Dick. How come you ain't calling me, man? Forget your mama? Depending on how she is, she's gonna be, you know, you can tell she's impatient. How about this one? And your name is?
Max.
Max, okay. Max.
Vulnerable.
Well, maybe something, you know, are you okay, Mom? You know, suddenly weakness, you know, and who knows what, you know? Or your father, of course. Max, you need money. Right? Okay, so if you think about it right now, you could think of 5 to 10 people who you know who they are and you know what they're thinking. And how is that? It's the way they said hello. I mean, one word, and depending on the language, and every language is the same. So this tells you something really important. This here isn't just noise, sound. It's an emotion. You're actually feeling something and portraying that. Now we could go heavy into this if you were an actor, this was an acting class, public speaking class. We would get into how you use the words. That to be or not to be. That is the question. Now that's quite different than this. To be or not to be. That is the question. Hello? Same thing, completely different vibe. And that's where actors get there. That's what they get paid to do. To be spot on and do what they're supposed to do. So you say, okay, I can think what Liebman's saying. Okay, but how's that going to translate into like vibrating a reed and brass, according to a certain fingering and how the conical bore is and blah blah blah. It's not literal. It's not like I can put happiness into there or where's the money, Dad, into there. No, it's not quite like that. But there is a means of expression and a means of emotion that's coming from the way you talk and the way you, by extension, sing. And we have to get to that. That's what's happening here. Okay, so following the air. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I got the oral cavity. Before I even get to the mouthpiece, I got something called the oral cavity. What's in there? Teeth and tongue. Your teeth, ain't nothing you can do about it. I hope you got your teeth. Okay, that could be a problem. But, you know, as you get older, you're not there yet. No, it could be a problem. Take care of your teeth, folks, because it will come back to bite you. That's a priority expense, and it is an expense, and it's not covered. But it's important because if this goes, man, you got a problem with the saxophone. I'll tell you that. But the other thing is the tongue. And the tongue is constantly involved in everything you do, except when you're sleeping. And even then, it's got something to do with your breathing. Position of the tongue, articulation, of course, from the sense of taste and all that, we know. But for our sake, the airstream is really affected by the way the position of the tongue. So we'll have to talk about that. And now finally, I'm up to part 6 or 7, whatever. I'm now finally up to the quote embouchure. And when I say embouchure, I mean jaw, cheek, lip, teeth, the whole scene here, which is the mechanism that translates me into the horn. I got to deal with this. I can't escape it. I got to deal with what happens up here. And then, of course, finally, the last thing, number 8, is I figure an A. Okay, that's that. The last thing is this horn, is the horn. All right, so we don't have, I do this a week of this in summer in my Saxophone Master Class, and we're going to rush through it. But let me talk what is very important. You, again, not usually discusses this breathing situation. Why do we need a good breath? There are 3 distinct reasons. They're obvious, but let's discuss them. Why? With complete breath, meaning as much air as possible. We're going to do this in a minute. A good, deep breath. What are the reasons? Saxophone speaking, musically. First one is what? And last night, we had to deal with it. At least me and him did. Volume.
Projection.
Yeah, volume. They were loud, I'll tell you. In the first tune, they were too loud. But what can you do? That's life. I mean, that music's supposed to be loud. I'm not going to go back and say, play pianissimo. Having a good time. But the truth is, we have to worry about volume. And we have to compete. Now, if you play alone, you don't have to worry about volume. But if you play with a drummer like Elvin Jones, you better worry about volume. Or a rookie like me, because I don't have any touch, but I'm gonna have fun. So volume is a consideration, and in this day and age, it's a real consideration, because guys can turn up to 11 by stepping on the damn pedal. Right? Okay. What else? What's another reason, musical reason, that you should have, and it enhances your scene if you have a good, what I call a positive, good breath, full breath.
Good supported tone.
Coming up, what about Sonny Rollins?
The length of your phrase.
Yes. Especially Sonny Rollins. He was like famous for 24 bar lines. I mean, you can catch him not stopping the phrase. I mean, No. Wouldn't it be a complete drag if after you come up with this genius line, your great ingenuity and great creativity, and you can't finish it because you run out of breath? I would kill myself. I finally came up with a line that's more than like 2 bars long, and I can't deal with it because my breath supply crapped out on me. Big down. Okay, so 2 main reasons right now. First of all, volume, projection, however you want to call it, length of phrase, breathing, blah, blah, blah. And the last one that you said, to support. Now, when they say support the sound, I'd like to get a little bit more into what do we mean by support the sound. These cliches, I'm not going to let you get away with cliches. What do we mean by support the sound? You said it. What do you mean?
Like just a full tone.
Coming through with a good breath.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, here's the difference, right? Shallow breathing is what you're doing right now. You don't need any more because you're just sitting there. And when you walk down and get in your car, whatever you do the next few hours, until you run around the street or something like that, or whatever you're going to do, or do a public speaking engagement. Anybody doing that today? Or do Shakespeare, or play a gig tonight, you don't need any more than a shallow breath. And shallow breath is basically top breathing, which of course is the chest and lungs. Put your hand on your chest and just breathe. You see the rise and fall. It has to. You have to open it up and close it down. We got to go one further. We got to add about 10 to 20% more to achieve these 3 purposes: volume, phrase length, and quality of sound is what we need. And in order to do that, I got to get the air from the bottom. So I'm going to do 2 different ways. I'm going to do shallow breath A, 1, 2. Shallow breath 1, and deeper breath 2. Don't confuse this with dynamics. It's not a loud or softer thing. Dynamics are not fullness of sound. Dynamics are dynamics. Quality of sound, the quality of sound. They are linked, obviously, because I'm in a certain dynamic, and that's going to kind of limit or enhance my ability to get quality of sound. But take dynamics out of it. Look at just the quality of the sound, the way the sound is. So one is without and one is with. especially high. Any difference? What's the difference? Trying to talk about music and words. What's the difference?
It's fuller up top, you have more support.
Especially up top. And up top is because you hear it more clearly. It's the same on bottom, but you know when you get high in music, when you get to the piano, you get to the second C and up higher, and somebody's out of tune, you really hear it. Like we had that warming up yesterday, soprano and flute, and so that's a disaster area, you know what I mean? When we're down low, you could be flat or sharp, and you know, only whales know it. Because when we go up higher, as the frequencies increase, A440 is then A880 hertz per minute or whatever the hell it is. It means there's a lot of this shit going on, and when the shit's clashing, there's a lot of this going on. We call it the waves. You know, when you tune the piano, you can really hear that. You know, the waves. So that's why you hear it more in the high register. But for the sake of a discussion, the truth is, it is the left hand that I'm really concerned about, and especially on alto and even on soprano. Forget it. We're up at palm keys in soprano. We're in kill land, as far as piercing brightness, disgustingly. Could you please don't play above a G? Like, I don't mind the soprano, but don't play above a G, boy. You know what I mean? My bass player, he used to call it. It's not complimentary. He said, "Lieb, oh, that's pet store on fire." My bass player, who I put to work on the floor. I sound like a pet store on fire. What a clever image, and I must say, not wrong in the way I was doing it. Trying to get up there on a soprano in those days when I was starting. You sacrifice something. All right. So as we get to the higher instruments, it becomes even more crucial that this support system that we're talking about and the good breath is there. So what we need to know is, how do we get this extra? I'm using numbers, 10, 20%. Right now, this is what Joe used to say. I mean, again, this is not scientifically proven, at least I don't know it. Probably is, I just don't know about it. We're using about 60% of our capacity now, right now, in normal, everyday life. Order a cappuccino, say hello, sit and just breathe and be alive. But for people that do use their breath to make a living, which is us, public speakers, and of course, sports, big time sports, for the maximum punch. I mean, anybody take karate here? Never take karate. In karate, first of all, the principle of karate is, in the real world, if you're going to use it, is you're only supposed to deliver one punch. If you got to do another punch, you have failed the mission. In other words, it's supposed to be one thing, flattens the cat out. This is not boxing. This is like defense, one hit. So if you're going to do one hit, and they're going to train you to do one hit, and I'm not talking about all the moving and all that, that's all beautiful and shit. I'm talking about the real deal on the street, if you have to use it. If it's going to be one punch, of course I'm slightly dramatizing here, but if it's going to be one punch, it better be a good full sound, correct? So when a guy comes, when you're in the dojo and you're working out, and the first thing you have to do is you have to do your main punch, which is basically a pull, push, pull, push. So when you do the punch, you're supposed to make this sound. It's called ki. I don't know where it comes, Korea, Okinawa. I think the karate or judo comes from Okinawa. Whatever. Anyway, Eastern culture, whatever. Whoever did it done that. So when you're doing that ki, the sensei, teacher, me, is going around putting his hand on your abdomen and telling by the tone of voice if you're really getting a deep breath. So, ki, ki, compared to ki, ki. You hear the difference? Second one's from here. First one's so if I'm doing it right, I'm delivering the punch with the full intensity. Ki, ki, not ki, ki. You say, keep going, boy. You're not going to go to the katas and all the movement until you can get a good punch going. All right. So this fullness of breath is something that, depending on your profession, you need. Most people don't need that extra 20%. Although I tell you the truth, if they had it, they'd be better off. Just a little sidebar here about meditation, about what you did with me yesterday, about having a good breath, because it cools you out. How is childbirth achieved, my friends? When they teach the Lamaze or whatever they call it, depending on the country, what are they teaching the woman to do? You breathe and relax so that the cervix opens so you don't have to push the brother through. Okay? So breathing good is a life asset. and I'll discuss that after. But let's just talk about this again. So 3-part breath. It's basically hatha yoga. It's a full yoga breath. It's a 1, 2, 3, a 3, 2, 1. For the sake of the exercise, we do it through the nose and out the mouth. Now, yoga has you do it both through the nose, in the nose and out the nose. But we're going to do it practical because we do blow. Now, the truth is, in reality, do you really breathe through your nose and blow through your mouth when you play? Not really. I mean, if you were doing it right, you would, because of the clean cleansing and because of the cycle, and there's a whole spiritual aspect to it. But who got time for that shit? You know, and you know, most of the time we're getting the air through letting go of the reed. We really should be breathing through the top because you shouldn't be changing position all the time. That's a drag because I'm actually repositioning all the time on the reed. And we're going to talk about where you got to be for the reed to vibrate the way it should. You really should be, well, I mean, how can I do that? No time. So we don't really do it correct, but we're going to do it for the sake of the exercise through the nose, out the mouth. And what we're going to do is we're going to expand the abdominal area, just like you're like I always say, you know, when you have kids and you're going around Christmas, and you're imitating Santa Claus, you know, you have little kids, and you come in, ho, 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 Charlie, old man, and you push your stomach out, we're doing it. We're going to expand the abdomen area to get more air down there. Then we're going to watch the chest slightly rise, which you're doing right now. And then there's a feeling, I don't want to get you confused, but just for the sake of description, the clavicles and shoulders, it's not that you don't do it, it's not this, it's that there's a feeling of lift in the upper part of the lungs, which is how the air finally gets into the breathing area. So it's a 1, 2, 3, a feeling of lift. Don't lift, but just a feeling. And then that's through the nose, and then we're going to blow out, and the blow is going to be the exact opposite. Shoulders will feel as if they're relaxing. Don't have to do anything. Chest will come down. Don't have to do anything. Natural. Final one, you got to do something. We're not just going to let the stomach deflate like a balloon. We're going to squeeze the balloon. I'm not going to wait for the air to come out. I'm going to let that. So that means, in this case, pulling in to compress that area. You know, in yoga they call it touching the kundalini. I mean, because the chakra, the kundalini chakra is at the bottom down here, and you know, basically, if you look at the yogis doing this shit, picture these cats like watching YouTube, and these guys like real from the side, it's like, I mean, they you know, they're eating rice. I mean, I'm sorry, I can't do that, but I'll do the best I can. All right, so let me do a few, and then I'm gonna get you up on your feet. So I'll do it now. I'm just gonna slightly exaggerate for the sake of it, and show my wonderful Jones here. All right, so through the nose. Let's try it. Don't stress, don't strain, do not push more. I'll go to that in a moment. Just real relaxed, in a nice position. Okay, so I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, but after a while, it's all flow. There's no 1, 2, 3 in life. It's all beginning and end. It's all this. But let's, you know, for the sake of the thing. Okay, so 1, through your stomach. Expand your abdomen. That's good. Raise your chest. Don't even raise. Don't do nothing. Shoulders. Don't worry. Just feel it, and then blow out. Okay. And when you're done blowing out, pull that in. Good. Pull it. Yeah. Good. Okay. Keep going. 1, 2, 3. And then blow out like you're blowing. 3, 2, 1. Relaxation. Pull that stomach in. Okay. No mind. And 1, 2, 3. And then blow out like you're blowing in the horn. Very good. Excellent. Okay, do it on your own, at your own pace. And then out. Boy, you can go in more, don't be so hard. He's a big guy, but he does it. Good. Okay, do 3 more. And then stay standing. How do you feel?
Peaceful.
Nice and relaxed, you know, not nirvana. But it's better than it was a couple minutes ago. Now, a couple little side things. First of all, be careful not to tense the stomach. You're not going to the bathroom. Okay, it's not like that. It's not like this, in other words. It's firm, but soft. But it's not rigid. If it's rigid, you're straining. Number one. Number two, and most of you are doing good here. I don't want to give you the impression that you're lifting your shoulders. It's just a vibe that there's a kind of a lift off in here. So you get, it's this. That's what it is, okay? Now, we want to increase 2 things we want to do. We want to, as Joe used to say, empty the contents of the abdomen. He meant the Kundalini thing, get rid of everything for the exercise. Now remember, exercise is different from real life. The word exercise means exaggerate. When you exercise, you're just doing more than you need to do in order to find the middle ground. So what we're about to do, you're not going to do this when you play, but you'll do this for the exercise, and I'll tell you how to do the exercise towards the end. I'm going to really pull the stomach in. I mean, there is always more air. Here, I'll show you. Give me your hands, guys. You too. Yeah, right here, to feel my air going out. So and then put your other hand here, bro, down there, okay? Empty, 90% empty. So when you pull it in and you squeeze in the balloon, get all the air out. Okay? And the last thing before I talk about some other aspects of this, it's not just the front that expands. It's the sides and not the spine, but the back. It's this. So we're really looking at it not just from your standpoint. I'm not just looking like for this. I'm looking for this, like a donut. And I need to get the air down here. And you know, the body responds to what we say body memory. You know, when you watch somebody like Michael Jordan or whatever, you know, a good athlete, and you see what they do, and it looks like it's so easy, and the body, they don't even think about it, you know, because they've practiced it 10 million times, like you practice a C scale. You don't think about a C scale anymore. So what we have is that the body, if you repeat, and repetitions in the mantra here, if you repeat something over and over again, the body will say, I remember. So what we're going to do is now I'm going to make an exaggerated situation that's going to make the air go here. And then I'm going to try to retain it in the real world, which is me standing up. So if I go down, I'll do this and then you can follow. If I bend over, all the way over, 45 degree here, a 90 degree angle, now I'm basically cutting off this supply because I'm crushing it together. So that means what? The air like water, if you have a house, you know this from water, it will always find a way. Right. Air will also find a way to get out. It always does. It's nature. So if I don't have it here, and I'm taking the air in, it's got to go here. So what I do is I put my hands on the love handles. And I breathe now, the deep breath you just did, but come behind me, one of you. Put your hands here. Okay. All right, so right now, you feel it? Mm-hmm. Now, of course, I don't live my life here. I go up here. Keep your hands there. And now, of course, I'm shortcutting because I've done this a lot, but I'm going to still be able to get it. It'll be less, but, right? Yeah. And then slowly rise up. It's less, but it's still there. And then finally back to where I want to be. Again, see? Put your hands here. Mm-hmm. So the body remembers because I exaggerated. The other thing, another way to do it, is if you cut off the left, the right will double up on you. So if I do this, which puts this pretty much closes it down, this will, come here bro, put your hand here, this will certainly, right? And vice versa, right? So what I'm doing is, and what I'm advising you to do is, first do this first thing we just did, feel good about that, and then after a couple of weeks or whatever, try to increase the air supply by doing this bending over thing. Put your hands here. Imagine pushing the air over there. Let me tell you. You know, that's what I mean. And it will because it's cut down here. It has to go there. And then do it slowly, come up. Slowly come up. Do that for a couple of weeks. It takes 2 minutes, 1 minute, whatever. And then when you're back here now doing the deep breathing, see if you can retain the vibe. Okay? That's the point here. We want to get them, you can get another 5% or 10% here. That's what we need. That's going to help us do it. Okay? All right, everybody sit down. A few things, how to practice this. First of all, okay, so this is an exercise. Oh, this sounds good. Help me, I'll deliver a good karate. I'll be peaceful and meditative and all that. What's the real deal? The real deal is eventually, of course, after a couple months, is to go to the horn and now do what? Long tones. The famous long tones. Right? By the way, a little sidebar about the long tones. When a teacher says do long tones, and you, being teachers probably, some of you will be, that's not enough. That's like saying, eat food. Yeah, okay. So what kind of food? Long tones, there's about 10 different things in a long tone. There's that stuff, right? The spit, saliva, volume control, air control, how long, like being underwater stuff, how long can I hold the breath, etc., etc. There's the beginning and end of a sound, pre-tone and post-tone. Or do you go, bah? You know what I mean? Without getting into it, when I assign long tones to somebody, I give them a very specific reason why they're doing it. And that's it for the next 6 weeks, or whatever. Then the next reason. So this reason is going to be for the breath. So I'm going to do what I just did now, but I'm going to do it with the horn. And I'm looking for the extension of me blowing the air. That's all this is about. And a musical ending if you can, please. Not like, and not. Time it so your air, see this is why I do this. We now want to time the airstream with the music. Very subtle stuff, but if you hear yourself play the ballad, believe me, this is what you're going to be hearing. How many guys, I don't know if you remember this, when was the first time you went into the booth and heard yourself isolated? Do you remember? Do you remember what you thought? Could have been when you're 12 years old if you had a little home studio. Now everybody has, RCA studios in their house. But it used to be, I went to the studio first, I was 15, 16 with my first band. I played Bag's Groove. I went to the booth, the recording booth after. And the cat said, would you like to hear what your sound is like? I said, yeah, I guess so. I didn't know what the hell he's talking about. I just figured it's always going to be with the group. I had no idea you could isolate it. I don't know. He says, no, your sound, your sound, Dave. That sad-ass sound you're making. That's the implication, right? Because of the brother, I'm a kid, the brother knows. I go in and, do you remember when you first heard yourself isolated from the drums and the piano and the bass or whatever your thing was? Or the big band? He said, oh my God, you cannot possibly be my sound, please. Well, that's what's happening here. So I'm looking for musicality in the sense that the breath is timed to the phrase. I'm not looking for you to be Houdini and be underwater for 4 days. That's long tones different. That'll be a long tone for me to get 2 minutes out of it. You know what I mean? Specific thing. So, a few other things about breathing before we move on. Twice a day, 10 breaths, like we just did. Eyes closed, no distractions if you can help it. Get the phone out of your hand for 1 second, and just shut the world down. Usually, probably morning and night, I guess. Morning for obvious reasons, night for obvious reasons, or late afternoon. But not around drinking, and certainly not eating. Don't do it after you ate like a steak dinner. And don't do it after you had a beer, because you're hyperventilating anyway. So don't even go there. So that's up to you. And when you get to number 10 of the 9, after number 9, and slow and even, and make it a color, and really, really feel it go down, like what she did with me yesterday. Just really check it out. Don't take it for granted. And if you're on automatic pilot, don't even do it. You're wasting your time. That's all. This is exercise that you have to do it right to get something out of it. If you're not going to do it right, you might as well not even do it. All right. When you get to number 10, you're going to exaggerate the abdominal pumping. And I'm going to do it like this. So I'm at number 9 now. Again, filling up as much as I can. By now I've already got a little idea of what this is. 9, so I'll finish it and rushing through a little bit. Contents of all the air out. Don't hurt yourself, but get rid of the air. Okay, 10. Finito. Okay? And that's to give you the exaggerated thing that you really do. Okay? Everybody cool?
Yeah.
The importance of the breath, besides relaxation, and besides playing the saxophone or being a public speaker. Now a childbirth. Wish I had Ryoko here to talk Japanese, but this is the root of your power. And I don't want to get too graphic here, but you know what I'm talking about. You dig. And just like that sensei coming by and checking out your punch, or me knowing you ain't breathing right, because I can hear it. You know. In Japan, when you have seppuku, that means offing yourself. You don't want to face the end shit. It's called harakiri. And when they commit suicide in the old culture, they don't fool around in the Orientals. They don't take a pill, put a bag over your face, jump in front of a train. It's gross. You want to finish it off. Cut the harakiri. Cut. Bam, boom, down. Pretty gruesome, but if you want to take care of business, do it right. So. Okay, now I'll tell you one story. This is another Miles story, and it's true, and it's a great one. When I left him to start my own band, after 6 months or so, I wanted to go back and say hello. Just check in. You know, always contact me. So this is like 74 in the fall. And I ring the bell, blah, blah, blah. You know, Dave, come on up. But, okay, so in his case, you walked in the ground floor, it was the instruments, kitchen, little garden back, 78th Street, now called Miles Davis Way. Finally got it together three months ago. We had a big party, it was great actually. Then you go upstairs, and there's a stairway up to things, and upstairs is a big living room and his bedroom. You know, central command. You know. So he's standing in, you know, it's like what do you say, a banister, you know, the steps, and he's standing there like this. You know, and he always had an attitude. You know, it's New York, you always have an attitude. You know, just, you know, you always got an attitude. You got attitude. You just do it. So, you know, like it's either like this, like that. I mean, I do it on stage. I can't help it. What the fuck? You know what I mean? That's the way it's just natural. So he's like in there, like, what do you want? Because you know he cut to the quick right away. He didn't no wasted words. You know, he could say, so I'm. That's he didn't say anything. So I walk up the steps, and I got to the top of the step, and out of nowhere he gives me a quick right jab to the abdominal area. Like that. Firm, not destructive. I mean, I can do it with you because I did boxing, so I know how much to do. You know, you're not trying to kill the guy, you're trying to make a point. And he goes a quick jab, and he goes, "You like being a band leader? I can tell." What's he doing? And then, of course, I proceeded to ask him what I do about the drummer and piano player being with the same chick. The truth is, I really needed wisdom here. You know, I was having a problem with, new band, another story. Anyway, by the way, he said, "Don't say anything." I said, "Well, the vibe on the stage is like goddamn poison." He said, "Herbie and Tony did it all the time." Therefore, forget about it. You know? Anyway, but what was he doing? He was checking my state of mind, state of body, my mental state, by reflected in your body. You know, when you're sick, you don't look good, and you're not feeling right. And when you're in good shape and everything's going your way, and things are cool, and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, or what you think you're supposed to be doing, you're in good shape. So the point is to be ready. Now, let's get back to the breathing. Am I going to need a deep breath when I play all the time? Absolutely not. But I might for volume tone color, and length of phrase. So when I'm playing, they all can click in at any moment because I did enough body memory to have this ready to go when needed. This is the point. I'm not saying that everything you play from now on in needs to have a 3-part breath, as in the long tone thing we did a couple minutes ago. But you need to be ready because you don't know when. So if I'm just playing, well, I don't need it there for that color. Just locked in for volume. That's kind of a sneaky one in between. And there I need it to cool out the high notes. So I'm constantly messing with the breath control, like a singer does. If you see Sinatra, you see Ella, Sarah Vaughan was the queen of this because she was, classical. I mean, classical cats have to do this. And they get it to where they know when to breathe and what to do, and they get the little comments to tell them what to do. I mean, they got to be directed. What do? We have no markings. We don't have a comma. We don't have breath. We don't have maybe in the saxophone section, the cat say, cut off on 3. Okay, that's the big thing we get. That's the big, great thing that we get out of, how to phrase something. We depend on our ear. We depend on vibe, and we read each other. And that's the way, that's jazz, and that's great. Point is, you don't know when you're going to need this. And you got to be ready to have it. And that's why you do the exercise away from the horn for at least 3 to 6 months. And this is a 2-minute thing. Besides that, calms you down and all the other reasons. Getting punched in the stomach, Okay, any questions on breathing? On the importance of it or on the regimen or what you should do? All right, we cool?
When you blow out, what are you thinking the pressure is coming from, the bottom, middle, or top? Or?
Depends, yeah, exactly. I mean, if you stop me, I can tell you. When I'm playing, I mean, of course, I'm not aware of it. There are times when I am aware of it because I got to hold the note and I know I got to go down deep for it. But mostly when you're playing, by then it's instinct. You can't, these are things you can't think about when you're playing, obviously. Everything, we know this already. Why do we practice? We practice so that we can get something to be able to go on the stage without thinking about it. When you first learned how to finger a C, you had to think about it. But you don't think about it 3 weeks later, you were cool, you were up to high F already. Just when you started, when you were 10 years old or whatever. So it becomes habit. But my point is to slow the process down and think about it now for those 2 times a day. And then when you do the long tones, that's the time to think about it. But when we go and play, it's too late to think about anything. You're supposed to be reacting. All right? A good question. Anything else? Everything clear?
And Dave,
Yeah.
there's something very interesting because I actually do the same thing, the same thing with the breathing.
Yeah.
But I divide my body. I want to know what you think about this.
Yes.
I divide my body with 3 vowels: O, A, E. So this is the process.
Yeah. Great. Why not?
Okay.
That's a
It's very,
great way to do it.
Okay.
The reason I don't get it because I'm going to use the E for other purposes in a moment.
Okay.
But
okay.
that's not a bad
Very
idea, actually. Yeah,
interesting.
no, that's good. A, O, O.
A, E.
Oh, I'm going to write that down, guys. A, O, E. Very good. Can I have that for breakfast tomorrow? He can make it. He makes great breakfast.
It's interesting.
Okay. Now, I want to move on to, cut to the quick pretty quickly because we don't have much time. What goes on at the mouthpiece? Since I'm putting a lot of stuff on this, we're going to get to that in a moment. Let's skip this for a minute, and let's skip the oral cavity. Let's talk about the embouchure. Teeth, jaw, and lip, big time lips, all right? What is the function, what goes on, what really goes on here? What am I doing? Hello?
Channels.
Having the reed vibrate, and how do I adjust the rate of vibration? Because high is faster than low, isn't it? We know that high means faster, low means slower. That's the way the reed works too. The reed is a vibrating body, all right? What regulates the speed of the vibration?
The airflow.
Bottom lip. Bottom lip, here's my thumb, it's the bottom lip. If you think right now, put your hand on your lip. Imagine playing high F. I mean, really imagine that you're playing high F, and imagine playing a low B flat. What's the difference?
Pressure.
Not pressure, it's position. It should be no pressure. It should be at least 1/32 of an ounce is what Joe used to say. I mean, that's hard to do, I'll tell you right now. But it's not about pressure, because as soon as you say the word pressure, what are you really saying? Pressure. Pressure is not a positive thing. Pressure is a description of an action that is a kind of a drag. I got pressure, or there's pressure on the tire, or my air pressure is down. Pressure is kind of a drag, actually. Because as soon as you say the word pressure, you probably mean more pressure. And more pressure, excuse me, we cannot fool around with this. It's going to close up and put the pressure on it. The bottom lip is adjusting the vibrations by moving in and out, just like you just did for F and B flat. And what is the scenario? High notes mean, what if I want a high note, I need fast vibrations. Where's the fastest vibrations on the reed? The edge. There's no tip, it's an edge. Tip is a point, this is a surface. I want the edge to vibrate for the high notes. And if I'm playing low notes, what do I want to do? I want to muffle or cover or blanket or subdue, whatever you call it, the highs, so that the low frequencies prevail. This is physics, this is not rocket science, it's physics, all right? It's just the way things work. So here's a high note, I'm exaggerating, here's a high note, kind of slightly opening up the edge of the reed. It's slightly actually open so that it's allowed to go like that, and then when I play low B flat or low notes, I move this way, I kind of stop the fast vibrations and and therefore the low ones will win out. So what I'm doing is not up and down. That's why I don't like the word pressure, because that's what you would think. It's not pressure, it's an in and out movement. You play flute? How do you do it on flute? It's a rolling to cover the hole. The flute is a perfect example of what's going on. You got to make the hole small so the speed is faster. You got to roll your lip out. Low notes, you got to roll your lip back so that it's broader, so that you can get the slower vibrations. So really, when I'm playing, if you watch me, I'll walk around a little. Two things I want you to watch now is if you see any movement at the bottom lip, let me know. And then also, by the way, what is moving if it's not here? Well, watch it. I just play. Don't not what I play, but when I'm playing high, low, and all that, and what goes on in the arm show and all that. What do you see happening? Big time movement. That's that movement below the threshold. The feeling that I feel, the vibrations, and of course I hear the results. What's going on up here? You see any movement?
Rolling in and out.
Maybe, but very minor. Because here's if it's not right. That's not cool. By the way, the low B flat sidebar, which we discussed, I was telling them how my first lesson with Lenny Tristano, famous Lenny Tristano, teaches jazz. I'm 17, I can't wait, blah, blah, blah. I walk in, it's like that full, like the houses from the movie, Vincent Price movie, like the House of Usher. He's blind, you don't care. Anyway, I walk in and he walks in, he has no idea who you are, it doesn't matter. One student after another, 10-minute lesson, as I found out, $25, 1964. Okay, no problem. Somebody's going to teach me jazz. All right, cool. He teaches all instruments. Walk in, first thing he says, what do you play? You can't see. Tenor, sir. Tenor saxophone, huh? Mm-hmm. Attitude. Play a B flat major scale from the bottom of the horn to the top. It's a reasonable request, right? After all, it's a B flat instrument, right? So, can you imagine what I'm doing first? No warming up. Not that that's an excuse. Said, you call yourself a saxophone player? So you go home and learn to play a low B flat and don't come back until you can. And he, by the way, played saxophone. He played everything. He was like a Stevie Wonder in jazz. What was I doing? Why can't I get the B flat out? When you can't get your low note out, besides that the reed could be hard, I'll give you that. Besides that you didn't warm the reed up, I'll give you that quarter. So if you gotta be there, I'll let you have that excuse. But really, why can't I get a low B flat out?
Too tight.
Too loose. I'm dropping it. I'm dropping the jaw. I'm thinking low. When I'm high, I think if you take vocal lessons, first thing that teacher will tell you, which I did more into this. If you take vocal lessons, they will talk to you about head tones and chest tones. You've heard this expression. What do they mean? Well, listen to it. What happened? I went from chest tone to head tone. The break, which all we have, humans have. But if you're a singer and you depend on that for a living, you got to learn to put the chest tones into the head tones. So they always say, think low when you're going high. Think high when you go low. And for us, it means about the reed. So here's the difference. Not dig? So don't drop your jaw. Keep your jaw up for the low B flat. Not. If I drop, and the same is true, obviously high F. I go up to the high and I'm like, you know, what are you going to do? Okay? So, I am regulating with my bottom lip, though you can't see it, and especially on soprano you can't see it because it's such a small area. Now baritone you'd be a little bit more, 1/16 of an inch, even a little bit more baritone because it's a bigger reed, longer. I'm regulating the highs and lows by my movement of my lip in and out. Now in order to do that, I need a fat bottom lip. Now I wasn't close to Pedro when he plays, but classical guys usually, also they have very small openings with hard reeds, they usually play like that, like a clarinet. And there's a lot of reasons for that, musical reasons. Don't ask me because I don't, you know, I'm not going there. For me, the bottom lip should be over the teeth. It's not the lip teeth, it's the lip like blanket, just like you go like this. And it's blanketing the edge of the teeth. It is the equivalent of the felts on the piano keys. If you don't have those felts, and you have the wood hitting the wire, you have a harpsichord, basically, right? But if you want a nice dolce on the piano, you need to take away the unnecessary highs, and that's what the function of the felt is. This is to buffer me from the unnecessary highs, and to have the flexibility to go in and out. So we call this the V position. Why? Say V a few times. Where do your teeth hit the lip? In the middle. In your middle. I can't do you, you can't do me, but for you, you'll line up your teeth, right or wrong, good or bad, don't matter. That's that's diction. V, 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 or even another one's F. F, F, F. That's your natural bite, by the way. When you go to the dentist after you have a filling and they go bite and they sand it down, they want to see what your natural bite is. That's the teeth. That's different. It's the same thing, except I'm doing it with the front. V, V. If that's my natural bite, then that's my middle register. So what Joe would do when he did this, and of course he'd do it week after week because I didn't understand it. You know, he'd take a pen. He'd say V. And he'd come up to you and put a little mark on your lip with the pen. He thinks nobody was paranoid about germs and shit those days. Boom, boom, he put it on. He said, now, you see that? I want you to imagine your teeth hitting that, but you're playing in the middle register. So, V for me. V. That's my middle position. That's N, neutral in the car. Now I have drive and reverse. High and low, what you just saw me do. High. I have a pivot point, a fulcrum, like a seesaw. The pivot point is the V. Because this is not what I want. See that? Like that. And listen to the difference in sound, too. You hear that edge? Now I can get the edge with the right with the right lip position anyway, but I do it because of other ways. But not good. Quality of sound. First, how do I go high and low? And when you see a kid playing who hasn't been shown this, and of course, a kid, you know, they're just going to do what's the easiest thing to do, the quickest thing. They're going to really like, they go like, okay, now it's a kid, so you don't have to go through like physics and V's and all that shit because it's too much for a kid. You just say, put your finger in my mouth, let me pull your lip in. Yeah, soft part of the lip, not the hard part. Soft part, that's where the reed lies. And do you feel the reed through your teeth, through the lip? Yeah. Yeah, I feel the reed. Oh, that's good. Now you're cool. Now play a middle C, low C, and high C. Any questions?
I think that with classical also, because I know that a lot of classical embouchures tend to roll in to darken the sound.
Yeah.
And I remember
Yep.
when I went through my embouchure change when I was in college, I would practice in front of a mirror, watching what was going on, feeling what was going on, rolling out at different lengths,
Yeah.
and really noticing the difference in the tone.
That's the point, to be aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because again, all rules, there's no such thing as rules in music. There's only guidelines. And like I just said, if I really want to darken my sound, I could do what's really basically not right. But listen to the voice change. I might want that color, you know. So yeah, you know what? I may play like that once in a while. Especially on soprano. Because soprano, because it's this, sometimes it's more like a clarinet to soprano. Some, you know, I mean, last night a couple times I'm down here. Now I'm still keep the same arc here, by the way. When I'm down here, that obviously is straight compared to when I raise up the horn. I'm not doing it because of emotion. I'm doing it because of you. So you can hear the difference in color. Now, of course, with a tenor or an alto, it's a little, you know, it's not quite as obvious. You know. Although, you know, when you see Joe Henderson, or Nuke sometimes, you know, he'll be up there like that. That's, you know, I don't know what that is. But I'm talking about how you angle on the reed affects the sound. So, I'm talking about a V position. He just said it. Experiment. Because this is flexible. And, by the way, story, short story, but it's true. And, of course, it reflects on what this is about. I love Train, of course. So, you know, when you have your idol, you want his equipment and his arm. You want to look like him. I want to look like Mike. Remember that ad? With the sneakers? Remember the Reebok sneaker ad? Mike. That was Spike Lee. I want to be like Mike, like Michael Jordan. It's great. Well, I want to be like Train. All right? So I figured at least I get the equipment, so everybody got an old Link in those days, and then up to a Tone Master. You know, the whole Link thing, the whole Link mythology is Coltrane. Basically, which still exists to this day. Most places you go, you look at a big band, I mean, if it's a real, you know, guys who know something, still 70-80% play Link mouthpieces, even the young cats. It's still the image, you know, which is fine, because it's a good mouthpiece. If you get an old one, you know, all right, different story. So, the record, in those days, records, LPs, he's got some downstairs. You know, LPs were like, you know, you didn't need a microscope to read the liner notes. Or to see the picture. You know, I mean, again, they had liner notes, right? And you know, it's 12 by 12, right? Thing, it's an item. Records were an art, you know, I had them on the wall. I mean, you know, it was a thing. Crescent. Now, if you were in my house and if we were doing this, I'd show you the cover and we'd go through this. But the Crescent is a great, great picture of Train's embouchure from a three-quarter angle. It's not there, it's not there, it's like this. It doesn't look like he's in the straining playing, but it looks like he's playing. And in Crescent, there's a lot of just really straight, great melody playing. I don't know if they took it at the session. I have no idea. But you see his bottom lip very clearly. Because, you know, if you take a picture like this, you can't really see it. You need a picture like this, kind of three-quarter picture. So, guess what I'm doing? I'm in the mirror. In the bathroom, in Brooklyn, with the cover like this. Like this. And of course the mirror is opposite, so forget that. You know, it's just, but at least I could, you know, I'm half looking in the mirror and half looking at this because I'm saying, can I do that? And look in the mirror and check. What was that about? You have to find your V. That's why V. Because the way you say V is an indication of the really natural middle part of the lip. That's the best I can do. And of course, if you come in for a lesson and I hear you, I will say, and it's 99 out of 100 guys, it's like put my lip out, and it does, and it's changed the sound. Everybody, I mean, if I went around the room now, most of you, your sound would expand 10, 20%. Just by getting more lip on the reed. And deeper sound. This is not projection like this. This is like this. It's not that. It's this. Not that, but this. And it's something to experiment with. All right. Now, a good exercise for doing this is the mouthpiece alone. I'm going to play the mouthpiece alone. I'm going to chase all unwanted people away from me. This is definitely a pet store on fire. More like a duck being strangled. It's disgusting, actually. But we have to do it. And that is that I should be able to vibrate this like a kazoo, really, in the end. Paper on a comb, old shit. I should be able to make music out of this. Just, as terrible as the tone will be, I should be able to get pitch. And let's start out with a major scale, because that's the most recognizable thing we have. And by the way, I'd go to the keyboard, I would check my intonation, make sure I'm cool. This is great ear training. Great ear training. You're basically singing into the mouthpiece now, because I don't have the tube. So first thing is to find your high note. Now, don't even think about this, but obviously you can't play like that. So you're going to probably have the V position. You're going to notice how little you have to move. All right? So first thing is just get a pitch. Trying to copy that feeling. No tonguing. Oh, doing good. Now, on a good day means me, the reed, maybe I go up a half step. What am I looking for? Joe used to say you should be able to get a tenth. I don't know if he meant minor tenth or major tenth. That's unfortunate, I can't ask him. But it means if I start on an E, I should get down to C sharp or C. And that was what he would consider that you were cool. And there are days when I can do it independent, soprano, Oh, by the way, all the mouthpieces are the same. So what you're trying to do is, you're now actually doing what you do when you play. The only difference is I don't have the tube to help. Basically, this is what a saxophone player is. He's making the reed vibrate according to the ear, according to the airstream that's coming from here, that was attenuated and adjusted to get the A or the E or the G sharp. It's as if this has a different position for every note. But when we just go down to this, the bare elements, and we get about an octave or so, it's really magnified because we're zoning in on this thing. As soon as I get my fingers and start playing an E scale, well, I got help then. I got the boy helping me. But the boy should be after the fact. It should be happening here and here. So this is a very good way to see what your correlation is between hearing, what goes on here, which you don't know really, but you can hear the effect, and what goes on here. If you're coordinating all three. So play thirds, play a minor scale, do Dorian scale, play a tune, play Stella by Starlight, anything you want, because basically what is here will come out in here because you're singing here. This is a very important exercise. Now, I'll tell you about one guy, and if I had time, I have the CD with me of, I got my freaky guys who do these things and take it way out, This was Italy. I was giving this class, it was a week, it was translated, And then I came back a year later, and of course the first question I asked was like, first of all, can I check your breathing? Boom, that was first day. 2020, folks. Second day, of course, now, okay, how'd everybody do on the mouthpiece? Did you have a good time? Oh, yeah, it's fun. Could you get an octave? And then they're all looking at the teacher. His name is Alberto Mariani. He's got a beard down here. He's a classical musician. But he loves Coltrane, so he loves me. He had a book of all the Coltrane melodies. Amazing. No harmony, nothing. It was just, he loved it. Anyway, that's why I was there. So they're all looking at him. He's he doesn't look me in the eye. He's so respectful. In Italy, it's, you don't say Dave, you say Master. That's how they work, yeah. All cultures, Spain, Italy, and France. When your teacher is your teacher, it's not, hey, Mr., hey, Joe, it's Master. It's kind of nice. What do you think, Jeff?
I think you should go with that.
Should make that a minimum that if you don't say that, I don't talk to you.
Put it in the rider, Dave. Put it in the rider.
Let's go to Dave Matthews with that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Okay, so he's like, oh, it's nothing, Master, it's nothing. I mean, he's like really reluctant to show me that obviously something's going on here with the mouthpiece alone exercise. I said, Alberto, you got it. You know, they're all looking at you. They're all because they like, get him to do it. This shit. He says, okay, he gets it up. He goes to the piano. He starts out somewhere where I don't know, A or B or whatever it is. 2.5 octaves.
What?
He was down below middle C, and of course by there, again, back to Wales, it was like, I mean, the note was barely there, but he had the pitch. I never saw it. I mean, I have trouble getting the 10th, you know what I mean? You gotta do it every day kind of thing. So I said, Alberto, how much did you practice this? Now I'm looking at the classical ethic, which is a lot deeper than ours in that respect. He goes, 4 hours a day for 6 months. Head down. Because because I threw down the vote, the bet. And he's a technical, classical cast. They don't let any technical thing go by without doing it. We slob out. They don't. That's their job. And he was like that dedicated that he's going to do like Lord Liebman said, and he's going to do it and really get into it. And he did it. Of course, I didn't have a tape in those days, the '80s, but I mean, it was. I said, I was like, master.
Yeah.
Well, he said nothing's just practice. Okay. So my point is this: you should be able to get at least an octave. If you can't get a couple things that'll happen. Let's say, what's happening? By now, pressure. Sing the note. Because this is really what you want. Go back, start again. If you do that for a week, I'm cool. I'm cool. Add the next one next week. If you don't, now here's where there is some equipment situation. We are dealing with an opening and a reed strength. Correct? What are the two things we have always? We have the variable of opening and we have the variable of reed strength. How do you really know what's right for you? You do what your teacher does. You do, I pick a 3 and a 3, Laveau's 3, whatever. Like that. This is a very good indication of where it's at for you. I mean, again, there's no law here or rule, but if I see you practicing this, let's say you came back in 6 weeks and you really can't get past the 5th or something like that, and that means it's crapping out. It's just, or you can't get. If I can't get the high, what does that mean? One of two things.
Too hard to
Too soft a reed, pinching down, or too small an opening. Or a combination of both. And if I'm crapping out as I go down, what does that mean? Too big an opening or too hard a reed. Got me? Because it's obvious, because you're either choking or you're losing. I'm letting your saddle low B flat again. I'm dropping. Alright? So I'm not telling you this is a test, foolproof test, but it's a good indication of what would be a proper opening and reed strength for you. Because you may not know, you may be dealing with something that's not right. Usually you can tell when you're playing anyway, but this is a little side thing. If this also goes along with it, feels hard, well then you're probably right. This is like a little reinforcement to that feeling. Okay? So that's the mouthpiece alone exercise. This is mandatory every day, first thing you do. Yeah, the breathing is separate. We did that as a separate part of the day even. You're practicing, this is a 5-minute, no more than 5 minutes, by the way. It's not, kill yourself. And also it's a matter of getting your body in tune with it. Alright? Any questions on that? Okay. Last thing for today. Why do we do it? Why do we do the overtone? Why is that seems to be, thank God, universal to saxophone players no matter what country you go to? What are the various reasons? Hello? Anybody do it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Tone quality.
What do you mean by tone quality?
Well, I was always taught match the tone quality with an overtone.
Okay, matching. Okay, we're going to get to that. What else? That's the major, really kind of major reason. What else?
Altissimo. Voicing.
Altissimo helps you. Okay, 2 things. What else?
Intonation.
Intonation, because of the matching. We accept that we can intonation. Anything else? Something that's more aesthetics.
Even it's a tone. Even?
Even as a sound? Musical thing, yep. Bless you. Even more.
Okay.
Tonal imagination. In this matching that we're going to do in a minute, you're trying to match color. This is a painter with his reds, but slightly off red. When a painter has a palette, have you ever been around a real painter, you know, who has a palette with 6 primary colors, or 3, depending on how, you know, in it they are. You can see all the dabbing. What's the dabbing? The blue with the yellow with the red. And that's what the brother sees. Like we hear, they see. They see that this is a blue. But this is like if you go into a, your old lady sends you to Macy's. I don't know what you got here in this city, but you know, let's say you go to a real department store, the real deal, Chanel and all of, you know, Gucci, the whole shit. And you're on the ground floor. If you haven't ever done this, go to Macy's on Lord Taylor in Manhattan, Berghoff Goodman, any of these really high-end stores. And the whole first floor is cosmetics and perfume and lipstick and that shit, makeup. Because when you're a man, you go in there, you're like, of course, a beautiful chick comes over and helps you out. I think it's great because they're all like stunning looking, of course. So your old lady says, "Well, on the way home, Dave, get some lipstick, you know, red lipstick." Now, you're supposed to know what they really mean, right? So you go in, you say, "I'm shopping for my wife," and you know, and as soon as you say that, they love you. You know, "Oh, I'll help you, sir." You know, and they take you over. "Oh, here's a red," and there's like 9,000 reds, each one with a patent name. Copyright. They've all been copyrighted because Chanel's Azure times 3 mini is different from you know, another brand. Gucci's number 2. So you're like, she said red, sir. Red? This is red. So we're looking at colors and a blending and a different. Hi, Ryoko. Give her a seat, please. And what we're looking at is shades of color for a painter. A photographer knows about this, especially a black and white photographer, with tints and with the shadows and the whole thing. You do a little bit on your iPhone, and actually we can be artistic when we take a picture, like that, you know. Suddenly everybody's a photographer. I love that. Okay, these guys are like into like the reds, greens, and blues. That's what you learn when you do the overtones. You're getting your red, greens, and blues. Your darkness, your lightness, your brightness. Your shrillness, your smoothness, your pointiness. Words to describe music. Absolutely inaccurate, but we got to do something. And what we do when we say your sound is bright, your sound is dark. Dark compared to what? That's dark. That's not, because that's gold and that's black. What do you really mean by dark and light? What the hell are you talking about? I don't know, but I can know by here. So when you're teaching, well, first of all, for teaching, you got to be able to get with this, obviously. But if you're just for yourself, you have to have a conception of what the sound is like in your head. Put it into words. I don't care if you call it, you know, oblong, parallelograms, rectangles, or you call it colors. Like Elvin, when Elvin would talk, Elvin would give a clinic. I mean, I couldn't believe we'd do a clinic, the Village Vanguard in the afternoon was, and he said, you know, somebody asked him, I mean, he's not a teacher, you know. I mean, you know, these guys, you know, just do it. But he was trying to be cool, and he was trying, you know, and I could see it, and I was like, you know, he said, Mr. Jones, what do you think of when you play? With the drum set? What are you thinking of? That's not a musical question, it's about the drum set. He said, well, you know, cymbals all got colors. That's red. And this boy over here is yellow, but sometimes he turns brown. Now, you're not about to get up to Elvin Jones and say, sir, it's a little amorphous for me, a little abstract. Could you? Okay, thank you, sir. You know what? I got it. He's right. What it meant for him, red, green, blue. Didn't matter. He had his code. He could deal with that. You got to find your way to describe it. So let's see. Let's talk about the matching. First of all, overtones. You know, you start with the octaves and do the octaves first to get used to it. You do your fundamental and your overtone. You know the whole the warm-up stuff. It's well, you know, it's all there. I even have it, I think, on my site. You know, the order of events. But you know, first of all, nice B flat. Thank you. What we discussed earlier. Try to be as gradual as I can. No break, if I can help it. As I get higher, unfortunately I have to break, but if you really practice like 6 hours a day like my man, Probably don't have to break. I bet he don't break when he does, you know. Yeah, because that's what they practice. They practice this
I
stuff.
break.
You break. Oh, I'm so glad.
I break.
I'm so glad to hear that you're not perfect. Okay, so you got me. Play the fundamental, the overtone fundamental. Okay, and again, just a few things about that. As little a break as possible. Let's say I want to go to the second overtone. So I want F, right? I mean, it would be great, and I could on good days. Trying to catch it. I'm trying to really be slow so I can feel the movement. It's like a train passing. You're trying to jump in the car. You got to time it just right because it's going slow, but not quite slow, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so that's of course the preliminary. Now the matching, what juice. This is the most important exercise on the saxophone as far as I know, and this was Joe's main thing. And that is going to be fundamental, overtone, maybe for now the first overtone, the octave, real fingering, match 2 to 3, back and forth dozens of times for that day, until you feel that you're as close as possible to the overtone sound. Why is the overtone sound Mr. Primo? Why do we care about the overtone? Why is the overtone fingering the B flat the one I want, and not my regular B flat, whichever one you use, by the way?
Full body, that one is vibrating.
Thank you. And there's a great Sonny Rollins story. Again, I'm not sure it's true, but it sounds true. And that is, somebody, I don't know who it was in the hotel with Sonny, and they were both in Chicago. Sonny was working, and the guy, Sonny calls the guy up. Somebody, it could be somebody like me, it wasn't me, but somebody like that. And says, you know, could you help me out? I have 4 Selmas here to try, and I'd like you, and somebody to give me opinion. Now, you know when you try mouthpieces and horns, you never hear it like anybody else. You spend your whole life playing an instrument that you never hear. Isn't it amazing? Everything, brass, everything. I mean, the only one who really hears the horn is the guy over here, maybe not right in front of you, but over there. So, you know, your whole life, except for a microphone, which is biased anyway, you never really hear your sound. You spend your whole life playing an instrument. Violin, man, is in your damn ear. Piano, you know, it's right there. But with horns, they project out. They really should have had it like one for them and one for me. You know what I mean? So therefore, you know, I don't know about you, but whenever I would have mouthpiece or read something, I mean, I bought my old lady, man. She'd say, again? I say, yep, stand there, 1, 2, 3. Tell me how they sound. They all sound the same, Dave. No, they don't sound the same. Well, they do to me. Come up for dinner in an hour. Okay. And she's a musician, you know, because in the end, you know, we race around the pole. But for the purpose we're talking about here, so it's likely somebody would ask you to come up and hear the horns. And Sonny Rollins, excuse me, you know, so you're like, whoa, shit, I can see him play all that shit that we just watched on the video right in front of my eyes, right? Okay, so he goes up. Sonny's, you know, sweetheart, good guy, nicest guy. Thank you for coming up here, Jerry, Joe, whatever. And he says, there's 4 Selmas, and it's likely in Chicago because that's where the factory used to be, Elkhart. It's right near there. Got them all wrapped up, takes one at a time. Says, okay, starts playing. Low B flat. Low B flat. Low B flat. Only. Puts the horn down. So now my man's like, okay. Okay, now compare that to this one, will you? Sure, Sonny, sure. Next one. Low B flat. Low B. Only low B flat. 45 minutes of only low B flat on these 3 or 4 saxophones, and of course along the way saying, is it a little darker, a little, you know, the kind of things you would ask, you know what I mean? And the guy's going, yeah, sure, because it's low B flat. But the point is, like you said, you want the lows because the lows is when everything's vibrating. So you know what the overtone, that matching exercise really is about? Every note's a B flat. Theoretically, philosophically, spiritually, if you want to go there. So every note that I play should feel like it's a low B flat. And that is a lifelong pursuit because you can't do it. Because it ain't a damn B flat with all your fingers down. And when I get up to high D or F and everything's open, what vibrates? That much. And that's why soprano's a bitch, by the way. You know why soprano's a bitch? Because you only got about that much room. See here, at least I got this. Alto a little bit less. Baritone's nice. You got a lot of, at least you got something left. But when you go up to high F on a soprano, I mean, the thing opens up. It's it. The air's going here. You know, there's no tube. There's nothing happening. And that's why the difficulty of soprano getting in tune and getting up in the high register, because of the thinness of the bore. It's a technical thing, it's the way the instrument is. It's you, it's the mouthpiece and all that, but that's another thing. So be careful, remember you want everything to be the low notes. So we're gonna do the matching and we'll do slow. I'll do B because I don't want to deal with the different B flat fingerings for now. You hear the roundness of the real B flat, or the real B compared to my B, my normal B? I mean the roundness of the overtone B compared to my normal B? My normal B is like a drag. So that. There. Best one so far. What am I doing? What am I doing physically? You don't see anything, so it's nothing you can see. What am I doing?
Trying to keep your throat position.
Everything in here is being adjusted. It's it's all that shit. Talk about tuba shit, that's where it comes from. They know how to hit it so they can get two notes. We're dealing with this back, first of all, soft palate. Soft palate is, be careful when you do it, you don't want to choke. That soft tissue up in the back of the throat. Soft palate moves, has some flexibility. Big part of this is the back part of the tongue. Big part of it. Because it, just like my consonants, right? So we got to find that position. And that's why you do the matching. Intonation and color of sound. So to me, it was fuller, and finally the other B was approaching it. But the other B wasn't as, didn't have as much volume, so I wanted to really match. Let me try B flat. All right. Getting there, but now I can't dip the pitch. You see? It takes usually, at least for me, 3 to 5 times to zero in. Now, if I did this every day, as you should, you'll zero in quicker. One overtone at a time. The way you practice this is the first overtone a month. B flat, B, C, C sharp. Do not worry about how high, how much. It's how well. This is your meditation on this instrument. Now we're into tone color. This is sound. This is what you asked me yesterday at the clinic. This is really what the deal is about. How flexible, how loose, how much imagination, and how can I manipulate the sound to sound like that real beat. That's the best I can do now. Unless I had, you know, Mr. Saxophone in front of me. You know, I can't, the best I can do is my own teacher. The real beat, the overtone B fingering, overtone B flat, is like the teacher in your room. He is saying, be me. I mean, it's right, you got your guy right there. You don't need anybody else. You need to maybe correct some mistakes and some things like that. So that's why this is a very important exercise. Now, there's like, in the book, I have like 10, 15 extended exercises. The bugle call, play with no finger, you know. I mean. Which is not allowed really. But if you can get the false overtones, if you go up as high as A, sometimes I can do A. I mean, that's not an overtone, a fundamental. Because once you're out of the bottom stack, once you're past C, you're basically into no man's land as far as the fundamental goes. But why not treat it like that, just for the sake of the exercise? And then there's another one where you hold a high palm key and you get any note. flat, I'm getting an E. It's not a harmonic, but I'm getting it. Because this controls this, which controls this. And when you get into this overtone thing and get deep into it, especially the extended exercises I have listed, you really learn what the deal is, that this is what's about. With this doing its job minimal, and with the last part being this. Now we go into C7 scales. That's another deal. Okay, so let me review, because I'm going to get out of here in a couple of minutes. Let me review what we did today. First of all, the breathing, 2 times a day, 10, pump the 10th one, abdominal, like that, all right? Watch the air, make it a color, make it a well, picking up the water, make it, I don't care what you do, do something to make it a picture. So you can have imagery, because imagery helps, all right? Remember to do the bending over to get the air into the expanding into the sides, as much as you can, so you get that little extra 5 to 10%, blah, blah, blah. Eventually, after a couple of months of the breathing, go to the horn, do long tones for that. After 6 to 9 months, you never have to think about breathing again, except for other purposes. That's not what we're here for today, all right? Number 1. Number 2, mouthpiece alone, please start the day with the mouthpiece, of course. Get a nice pitch, get a note that's good. Start out as high as you can for obvious reasons. See if you can get an octave, start with the major scale. Don't fool yourself, go to the piano for intonation, because you're not going to be in tune, believe me. So if you go over here and hit the note and go like that, hit the note, and then after a while, the note and then hit. Use that to reference, and then use that, and then go back to check. So you kind of play a game with yourself, and after a couple of months you don't need the piano anymore, you're cool. Take a melody, take There'll Never Be Another You, take a 4-bar tune, play the tune. Anything that makes you sing, this is what you're basically doing, but you're singing into the mouthpiece. Remember the V position? Try to have V be your neutral, middle C, B flat, D, pretty much in the middle register. Find that V, make a mark mentally, you don't have to be Joe Allard here. May I mention one other thing that he used to do? If you start to put your lip out like this, you may have a little sharp edge into your gums here, right? Because you see here, I'm more protected. We're on like this, the soft part is against the teeth. Now, I don't know how pretty your teeth are, but mine weren't pretty. And there was a sharp edge or two. I said, Joe, it's killing me on soprano when I haven't played for a few days. I'd go in and play. I mean, with Elvin, Miles, first day would be torture. By the 3rd day, I kind of got a callus. But if I hadn't played with the soprano, if you didn't play for 1 a day at the intensity I was playing, especially with Miles, like we played last night, you got to play hard. Yeah, cut in, I'd be, you know. He said, let me see your bottom teeth. Okay? Takes out a fucking filing board. He says, open your mouth. Goes in and he sands down my teeth. Up to a certain place. He said, you know, I'm like, you know that movie Marathon Man? You know Marathon? Images of torture with the teeth. I'm like, Joe? He said, trust me. I said, yes, master. I trust you. I trust you. And he said, you could take off a certain amount before it's, you know. He said, but go to the dentist. And he showed, then he comes out of his pocket and he shows me a little silver thing that the dentist made for the clarinet that he puts on when he plays. He said, all the guys carry this. He said, if you don't have this, get cigarette paper, roll it up, make it into quarters, and then put it over your teeth. And you won't have that edge. Or go to your dentist. And I went. The next time I went to the dentist, I brought my mouthpiece, I showed him. He said, oh yeah, no, it took 3 seconds. It was just like that, never had a problem again. So if you have a problem with your bottom teeth, check it out. Check the dentist, put some cigarette paper on, whatever, to help you out. Okay, V position for the middle register. And then finally, the overtones. After your preliminary overtone stuff, the matching, slow, not quantity, quality. This is not about how fast you can get up to high triple B flat. I am not looking at that. That does not matter now. 6 months, 9 months, a year or 2. Yes, of course you extend your range. But if you just do one overtone for the octave, the first overtone, the octave, up B flat, B, C, and C sharp, you do that for the next 3 months. And do 1 note a day, by the way. Don't kill yourself. Don't do too much. I was talking yesterday about practicing this in one of these classes. And the thing about practicing is focus on one thing. Don't worry about what you can't do. Worry about what you can do. And stay with it for at least a certain amount of time. In this case, forever. The overtone exercise is forever. Mouthpiece, you can skip that after a while. But the overtone exercise, and especially the extended ones that I list, this is going to be with you forever because this is your way of meditating. I remember one last story. I had a very influential guy in my life as a painter, but he was a guy who could make, he was like a Picasso. He could take wood and make statues. I mean, he was a crazy guy. He lived up at Lookout Farm. My first group was dedicated to him. I learned a lot about the artistic process being around this guy. We would have a little refreshment and discuss art. He took me in and would show me a painting and he'd say, you see this, you see that, you see this? And I would do the same with the music. He would train, did it, et cetera, et cetera. It was really, my guru of gurus for me. Nothing to do with the music, really. He'd get up in the morning, he lives upstate, still up there, about 100 miles north of New York. Right in the snow belt, he's got snow. He'd wake up in the morning, his workspace was maybe like the size of this carpet. Inks, knives, jewelry, he was that kind of guy. Eugene. And he'd start in the morning, first thing he'd do, have coffee, espresso, cigarette, take the broom, sweep the floor. Walk up and down, up and down. We're talking 5 square feet here. I mean, not even like this, because it was a small tent. His old lady's out, she's another thing. I'm just sitting there, Don't matter, I'm not there, I'm happy, I'm not there. These guys, you're not there if you're not there. They don't care. Boom, boom, like this. So, I'd say nothing out of, respect. And then one day I said, Gino, what you doing, man? There ain't nothing on the floor. There's no wood, there's no shit, because sometimes there wasn't shavings or anything. There was just a floor, He said, the rhythm. I think about what I'm going to do today. Paints, acrylics, oils, pastels, charcoal, pen and pencil. By the time I'm done with this, I know what I got to do that day. That's what this is. This is our inside meditation. This is what brings you close to the sound. It's not about that. That's okay. That's later. This tells you what you really sound like. And what I was talking about yesterday, finding what you have as a sound. Like your voice, which is like no other voice in the world. Getting that to come through the horn. Because once you start getting in touch to sound, and stop the finger stuff for the time being, that part of your practice. And again, I'm telling you, this whole thing is 15 to 20 minutes a day. No more than that. You don't pound this thing. My friend with the 6 months of practicing, great, but that's not really the point. The point is to do this every day so it becomes a habit. It becomes part of your thing. Because if you try to do 4 hours today and not tomorrow, right at that, it's like credit for a test, wait a minute. You're just, stopping the dike, the flood coming in. That's what you're doing. Any questions? All right, I want to thank Jeff for putting together a great couple of days. Ryoko for her hospitality. And thank you for your attendance and your interest.